Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the Startup Pulse LinkedIn Live event today. Our guest speaker today is Nikki Arora. She's a partner at Seracap Ventures. Seracap Venture is the early stage tech investment global fund. She is also a general partner in Seracap Cares, and we are going to talk to her about Seracap Cares. She is a global marketing executive. She has a track record of executing the most complex and never done before ideas. And she's a pro in that. She's an MBA from UCLA. Welcome to the show, Nikki.
Thank you, Anshuman. I'm delighted to be here, and truly appreciate this opportunity to tell and spend some time talking about women entrepreneurs and the challenges of women entrepreneurs today.
Yeah. Nikki, you have come along a long way, being born in Gujarat. Take us to your journey as a woman and as a women entrepreneur. Relate the topic with your journey.
Thanks, Anshuman, and appreciate that question because it's so timely. Like I shared, I mean, for various reasons, I've been pondering as far as this aspiration of leading and becoming an entrepreneur when this is all began. And as I look back and I discover and uncover this question, I realized it literally took me back to my childhood. And and to your point, I grew up in Gujarat, a city called Ahmedabad, and growing up, Ahmedabad basically, today it's a very different place, but I tell you, growing up, it was a beautiful city, an upscale city with countryside culture and a vibrant city as well. So there was simplicity and calmness, in that, in growing up in those times. So, and when I start to paint this picture of my environment and I look at it, I realize that I was surrounded by entrepreneurs and dreamers, not only in my family, but the fact India has approximated more than 104, 106 million formal entrepreneurs, right? And that's a quite wild number. So to be in kind of fulcrum of that action was quite amazing stimuli. And the further affirmation of my direct inspiration to be an entrepreneur really was fueled from my parents. My dad was a successful serial entrepreneur, and my mom, more than a homemaker. I call her a CSO. She's a Chief Stability Officer. She instilled hard work, values, and culture, and a go-getter mindset. Right. I mean, she very early on said you need to be independent. Right. So, I mean, that was definitely kind of like a backbone of just me thinking that I want to be independent. I want to do it on my own. Just having that unshakable conviction. And then, my dad. Um, he was a savvy businessman, a serial entrepreneur, like I shared earlier, and he helped quite a lot of people stand up on their feet. Unfortunately, I, sadly so lost him to the other world earlier this year. But he instilled great acumen, hard work, and learnings. And I still remember that when he would get home at the end of the day, and he will talk about all his engagements and all his conversation with his customers and vendors, and we will sit down and tally the books, because at that time you would do it on pen and paper. And India was a cash business at that time and point, so he would come home with this bag full of cash, and we will kind of count it and tally it and all that, and he will, so touching the money at that age and understanding the power of it, right? It clearly enabled me to take risk very early on and explore opportunities. Although I had a very traditional kind of growth, professional growth. I mean, I took jobs, I did my thing, but at the same time, I ventured into two boutique businesses as a hobby, even before my undergrad. So, I find myself to be very fortunate, and that I've had these opportunities, and I've had the people that have kind of supported me and showed confidence in me to kind of move forward. So even so I naturally inclined to being an entrepreneur myself, but now as a founding partner of Seracap and general partner of Seracap Cares, I mean, I once again walk on this path for entrepreneurship.
Right. Yeah, so the Nikki, Seracap Ventures, which is a early stage
Right.
global fund,
Right.
then and you have been supporting women founders also.
Right.
Take us some of the early stage women founder. What type of issues do they face in a very predominant male society of investors and startup founders? And
Mhm.
then why and how did you come up with Seracap Cares?
So I think the biggest obstacle for women entrepreneurs today, right? I think I'll tell you it's a twofold answer. So
Mhm,
let's talk about the internal fight, and then we'll talk about the external challenges. Um, I think hesitation to fail is number one. Okay,
mhm,
I think it stops women from innovating, taking risks, and to be brave enough to take risks. They lack that confidence. So this because of this imposter syndrome, you can call it, obviously.
mhm,
We tend to self-doubt ourselves. We're discounting our achievements. We thrive for perfectionism constantly, and in spite of what history told and tells us, as far as women are always been very brave and bold, and we have always thrived in adversity. And naturally, we have natural ability, I guess, to nurture and protect. Um, and that makes us very, very sharp and smart and dangerously good, right? That's how I look at it. But I think, and I don't want to say that I don't struggle with this. I mean, I still struggle with some of these, to be very honest with you, if I'm going to be transparent here. But women tend to question themselves all the time because of this societal expectation, this persona that we must please and win every mind. We must do no wrong, and which kind of drowns us down, and just lowers our self-esteem. So I think that's one of the biggest obstacle that women entrepreneurs have to kind of overcome, right? And then externally, when we're struggling. We're struggling to be recognized. There's a lack of visibility. There's a lack of there's a lack of underrepresentation in public forums, which kind of further perpetuates the stereotypes, right? And then there's a challenge of access to funding and capital that we kind of all know about this, right? Which
mhm,
limits our market opportunities. It's also, I would say, there are obstacles due to certain male dominant industries that we face, right? So, kind of negotiating and kind of getting our way into it, right? Breaking those barriers. Um, and then these are very, very just, obstacles as far as women are seen to be very easy to kind of, what do you call it, fold. So hard to negotiate the contracts with suppliers and customers and prove your point. So I think these extreme challenges from internally and externally, almost every women entrepreneur faces just to be in the game every single day.
mhm. So, yeah, you have certainly overcome all those challenges, and this is why you are where you are. Help the women founders, the first-time women founders, how they should be negotiating these rough terrain. What are some of the key elements which will help them in succeed quicker and faster,
Hmm.
rather than trying to learn everything on their own.
Right. Um, I think you have to, as women entrepreneur, right, you have to lean on, it's okay to be vulnerable, right? It's okay
Mhm,
to be vulnerable. It's okay to lean on and ask for help. And it's about constantly overcoming, what we talked about, the barriers and the imposter syndrome. And you have to surround yourself with people that believe in you, that promote you, and that inspire you, right? I think those are very critical, I would say, key elements and facets of being an entrepreneur, ensuring that you address that and you constantly work towards basically gaining that kind of environment, putting yourself in those environment,
mhm,
to be successful, right? Um, I think that's where it begins, to beyond conviction, right? You need to be beyond conviction.
Tell us about networking. When you started your career, how to network, what we women should do different,
Mhm.
or how much aggressiveness they should show, how to penetrate the system, basically.
I think it's important to have it's important to have you have to have mentors, but you also have to have someone that is your sponsor, right?
Hmm.
I think you have to begin with having sponsors because mentors definitely are very crucial to your professional advancements. But at the same time, sponsors are very critical after a certain stage in your professional life where they put you, they become your guiding light in the sense that they gain market confidence on your behalf, right? I think it's very critical to have the sponsors to kind of break into these ecosystems and break into these
Hmm.
platforms, so that you have a voice, you have a seat on the table, right? So I truly believe that women should have sponsors.
Hmm.
And we underestimate the power of sponsors because sponsors
Right.
can actually take you to the levels beyond that you can ever imagine, right? You might have capabilities, but if you don't have alignment and if you don't have people that can promote you proactively and take risks and take challenges on your behalf, and stand up for you, then I think it's very, very, very difficult for women to kind of get into these platforms or open up these networks to is that so that people can really pay attention to what you're going to say and what you're going to do.
Right. So that leads me to the next question that, consider a situation where a women founder is looking for funding,
Mm,
and she's applying to various funds, she's going to
mm,
various networking events.
mm,
In your experience, what
mm.
approach have you seen that has worked best in securing funding for women founder? How they should approach the stereotype questions that, hey, will you be able to work on your project 24 by 7, and all those things, and how did you navigate it when you were fundraising, and what you have seen that has worked best for women founders?
Well, there are societal expectations, right? And how do I say this in a very delicate way? There are sort of societal expectation, and to the question that you put forward, right? I think it's really challenging. It's about challenging the norm, right? Today, modern women are really they have a voice. They are using social media and public forums to basically ensure and
Mhm.
communicate that we want to promote the environment that is lucrative and supportive of women as an entrepreneur or as a professional, right? So, and the biases and around fundraising and access to capital, as you said, are abhorring, right? And for any successful entrepreneur, we all understand and know that you need cause, capital, and customer, right? So it's not about really who your audience is. I think you have to understand, kind of profile your investor, right? Is your you shouldn't be investing, you shouldn't be asking for money from everybody as a women entrepreneur, to be very honest with you. I
Mhm.
think you have to be very careful about choose your investors and get to know them, right? Don't ask for money until you know your investors. Understand where their priorities lie. Do they understand you know the the need for women entrepreneur, right? Because obviously, we have to recognize that there are intersectional challenges that women have from different ethnicity, racials, and socioeconomic background, right? They all face. So you have to be more empathetic and understand that this investor understands where I come from, who I am, what I bring to the table, and when I state that I can get this done, and do they believe in that, right? So I think it's very important to understand your investor profile, versus just pitching anything and to anyone and everywhere. And I think we
Mhm.
tend to forget that. We because we are so focused on raising capital, we don't pre-screen or screen our own investors.
Right. So do the research on your investor is what I am hearing, that,
I
who
think
writes.
research is one thing. I think getting to know your investor, you have to. It's about cultivating relationship, right?
Right.
In VC world, right? I mean, in if you this is it's brutal, right? So you're talking about people don't want to give you $1. You're talking about somebody giving you $1 million, and if you're going to get $1 million from someone, you definitely want to know who this person is and what walk of life they come from, right? What kind of values and cultures do they have? Do they align with who you are and your cultural uh, um, background? So I think and even if you don't, but do they appreciate and understand what does it take to be a woman entrepreneur? Is there an empathy? Do they have empathy? And are they someone that can actually create and open up paths for you or access for you? So what value do they bring just aside from their dollars? I think it's very important to learn and understand that before. So it's not
Right.
just about doing the research. I think it's about cultivating relationship before you ask for that check.
Huh. Absolutely. There is an interesting question. I'm bringing it on the screen. What effective strategies can women entrepreneurs adopt to overcome gender bias when pitching to investors?
Gender biases. I mean, we all know that they are there, right? How can you not face those gender biases? Um, but I think the question is, how do you
Navigate.
overcome them? Yes. How do you
Yeah.
navigate? How do you overcome those gender biases? Um, I think that's what we have to focus on. I mean, they're hard to break down. Biases are very hard to break down. They're culturally dynamic. It takes decades to train the generation and to break those biases. So, but I feel like if we stay on this path and continue our efforts consistently on having this conversation, the change is inevitable. We are keeping women in front and center. It's not an afterthought anymore, right? And if we look at these environments with new lens, and we teach ourselves, we learn and we observe things with this new lens of basically looking women as someone who brings substance, who brings experience, who brings natural ability to be successful. um, I think as in a community and also in an office environment and in family environment or in schools for that matter, let's just go way back there, right? How do you approach gender biases for future forward thinking, and just kind of losing this preconceived biases of over 100 years on this specific gender? So I would suggest that we focus on diversity, we focus on skills, we focus on authenticity. That's where we need
Mhm.
to focus on.
Yeah, and I'll pick another thing that you said in your last statement: cause, capital, and customer. So if you have the right cause and if you have customer, I think the capital will follow you. So if you can figure that out, that you have a cause and you have some paying customer, I believe the capital is going to follow you, because I have seen from Silicon Valley companies and other companies also from small towns too. If
Yeah.
the idea is great and they have customer, the round gets filled up so quickly, and in there the founder becomes the driver of the capital, from where he or she is going to take the capital and how much and at what terms.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when you have to your point, when you have 2 out of 3, right? Obviously, when you have a cause and you have a customer, then you definitely can attract capital, no doubt about it. But I can tell you one thing: as an institution, when I put on my hat, uh, I come across amazing, passionate founders, and with some disruptive, innovative technologies that they are leveraging, that they are building and offering, that are really focused on human-centric technological solutions, right? That are enabling better quality of life and whatnot, right? So there is cause, there you see the impact, you see the purpose. But when it comes to capital, there is still a hesitation, right? There's still a hesitation because there is a women founder or there is a women emerging manager sitting on the other side of the table.
Mhm.
right? And I hear you, but at the same time, I don't want to underplay this, because this conversation is extremely critical and important. Because I'll tell you, for Seracap Cares personally, I've been in VC now about 10 years, and investors are literally in awe about, what we are trying to do, what we are trying to achieve as far as an impact fund and a foundation. It's a perennial fund. It's basically, you kind of roll over your fund one, capital from fund one to fund two, and your profits are subject to your choice of charities, right? I mean, it makes total sense. And then on the other end, you are actually enabling technological solutions that offer quality of life, address disparity, and whatnot, right? So from narrative aspect of things and intentions and cause aspect of things, it's there. But when it comes to writing a check, I think it's about really, like, going back to the point I said, you have to profile your investors. It
Mhm.
can be spray and pray. It just cannot be spray and pray when it comes to your investors. Also, when we talk about spray and pray from investing perspective, I'm saying from investor aspect of things also, right? But we have to talk about this. Capital is very critical for anything and everything, right? They say charity is not cheap, and charity starts at home, and change starts at home. So I think it's very important and critical to highlight the fact that you've got to ensure that women have access to capital. You have to take risk. Everyone has to take a risk. Institutions, corporations, investors, women investors, and I think women have to help other women. I mean, that's what it is. We should not depend on other gender driven industry. I think women
Mhm.
have to
Mhm.
take be in
So,
the
so true.
front of it. I
Yeah.
can talk about this so passionately. So, Anshuman.
Right. Nikki, you are very busy. How do you balance your professional and personal life?
Oh boy,
And
that's
some of the tips and tricks for
no, that's
women.
a hoax. That's a hoax. That's a pure hoax. I don't think I don't think I'm an example of balance and manage. Honestly speaking, I try my best to balance and manage, and I'm not sure how successful I'm at it. Uh, it's you have to understand one thing, right? As a woman, and I'm not saying that the other genders don't have that kind of roles in their life, but for a female, or for a woman, it's not sufficient to have a bi-weekly date night, or 4 to 5 hours a week for your children, or you can, it's not like you can block these things in your calendar. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Or a fishing trip, or a hiking, or there are, we have to satisfy societal and domestic responsibilities along with our professional responsibility to ourselves and to the world, right? So as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, I mean, we fall on, I would say, like a on-demand category. I constantly make joke about this, that we are a real-time service category, gender. So, but at the same time, I also believe that women are the backbone of family and of any
Yes.
family. They instill, they play a significant role in shaping the world and shaping the next generation of confident, healthy kids. So I think biologically we are imprisoned by our own minds to be all to
Right.
everyone.
Mhm.
So I try to manage. I try to manage and balance personal, professional responsibilities, and it doesn't come without sacrifices, right? And you and I are sitting here today. Whatever we have achieved, and in our career, it doesn't come without sacrifices, and it doesn't come without challenges. But if
Mhm.
there are women who can manage and balance this, I would love to talk to them.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I'm a true product of women in my life. Starting from my mother.
yeah.
She was the first women car driver of Bihar. She got her license in 1965. She
Wow.
was the only women driver in whole of Bihar. So that is one. And
Yeah.
then my wife, when I started my business in 2011,
Hmm.
uh, my wife Mithil, she works for a med devices company.
Hmm.
She was the anchor. The money was coming through her. Uh, to buy food for the family, and I was
Wow.
going on my entrepreneurial journey. Whatever I am today, I could not have been without their support. Because well, all of us, who migrated from different countries to US, we
Yeah.
came with very little. So we created the wealth here, but in
Yes.
creating the wealth, unless you have full support from the family, it becomes very, very challenging and very, very difficult. So
Yeah.
I proudly say that whatever people may see me, because I'm doing LinkedIn Live, I'm going on podcast, I'm attending events, but there is a very strong support system led by
Absolutely.
a woman who is my wife at
Yes.
home for me to go out and venture it out. And when I see very, very successful CXOs and CEOs like you and Indra Nooyi and all, or our vice president, the whole family is there. The husband is in support there. Then only they can achieve those things. So
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I lean, I'm telling you one thing, like I lean on my partners, my family, for motivation. I mean, it's very natural. I mean, you have to lean on your ecosystem, right, as your support system to be successful. Firstly, I wanna say, Anshuman, thank you so much for saying it out loud on this podium and platform that your existence is because of women, right? Women in your life. And I think hats off to your mom and your wife, because they are the ones who've kind of carved up this path for us, right?
yeah,
This generation. So they've done so much. And I think we have to continue on this path of doing more and more. And I'm hoping a better, brighter, frothier future for my daughter when she grows up. I mean, she's grown up, but when she's in her prime professional
yeah.
career.
Yeah, Nikki, let's talk about Seracap Cares. What does it do? How women entrepreneurs can get benefited out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought you'll never ask, you know. Um, So cares, Sarah Gap cares. I think I kind of touched upon this right a little bit earlier. So
Yeah,
it's a women-led impact fund. It's a $10 million impact fund under a foundation. Its mission is to invest in transformational, sustainable solutions across the three E's, which is the education, environment, and the empowerment of our communities. So it's about investing in passionate founders that share the same value of social innovation, impact, and returns, right? And we are building an ecosystem that offers access to capital and customers so that we can address the gap we know that exists in this industry. And I'd love to talk to your listeners and viewers who actually believe in this impact-driven investment thesis, and if this aligns with them, I kind of have to do a shout out there. Would love for them to, any institution, corporation, or individual investors that would be interested in speaking more about this. I would love to talk to them. We also have an accelerator that we launched earlier this year in partnership with Karma Automotive, which is Innovate,
yeah,
and focused on fostering women entrepreneurs. And we've actually just, kind of brought on board about five women founders into our first cohort, which I'm very excited about. And I think one of the key differentiator of our accelerator um, is not about just giving them resources and tools and infrastructure and mentoring them and advising them and guiding them. All that is there, but we want to make sure that we go beyond that. We make their dreams come true and turns them into reality by actually taking them to the market and ensuring that they have a stickiness in the market and they have accelerated growth that they need to have within first 2 to 3 years. So it's not about just a 3 month program or a 6 months, but it's about really,
mhm,
taking them to that where they are on their own and they're stable, so that they
yeah.
can go for their first round of fundraising.
You're right. That is excellent, Nikki. And if we could be of any help to you in Sarah Cap Cares, do let us know through mentorship, or once those companies are graduating from you, please send them our way to be considered for a startup game changer and Thai that I'm associated with. And Thai has a women fund, and we are looking for women founders. So If they want to reach to you, they can go to seracapcares.com and navigate it from there and reach out to you that way.
Absolutely. Visit sarahcapcares.com or email me at everythingventured@sarahcap.com. Either way. And thank you for, Anshuman, for actually extending to collaborate, because I will reach out to you. I think there are a lot of parallels and that we can draw to elevate each other's purpose. So certainly let's talk about that and see how we can kind of structure that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nikki, for your time. I know you have a very big event coming up in 2 days.
Yes.
We are right on 30 minutes, 31 seconds. So, with that, I will end this LinkedIn Live event. Thank you so much for your time. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Anshuman. I appreciate it as well, and appreciate your patience for rescheduling it as well. So thanks, and have a great holidays. Take
Yeah.
care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.